Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Hope we're all having a great day today and we're all doing well. Before we continue, if you do go on to enjoy this video, be sure to drop it a like and subscribe if you are new. So we have had some pretty interesting information given to us by famous data miner for Siege known as 0bytes. Now, if you've been, following this channel for a long time now, you've heard of 0bytes before. They are, like I said, a popular data miner. I most attribute them to data mining the events. That's usually where I see most of the event stuff comes from 0bytes. But yesterday, they actually tweeted out something very interesting. So they actually tweeted out saying, back in year 5, Ubi was planning to create PVE raids and a campaign for Siege. It was codenamed Reborn, and some objective types were bring, destroy, go to, interact, locate, survive, and protect. Now, 0bytes doesn't specifically say that this is cancelled, but I guess from the wording we can kind of work that out, as it says back in year 5 Ubi was planning to. So it's not that Ubi started in year 5 doing it, it says they were planning to, past tense, so it doesn't seem like they are still doing it. And of course there's nothing 100% confirming this, but 0bytes is an extremely reliable source, so we can kind of take what they're saying as truth. So if this is actually the case, and this was true and they were planning this, why did they cancel it? Because I'm pretty sure I can speak on behalf of a lot of people and say Siege needs more modes just to expand out of multiplayer, in my opinion, and I think a PvE mode and a campaign would have done so much justice for the game and expanded the lore greatly. If we had a proper campaign with our favorite operators and obviously a PvE mode, so if you get tired of multiplayer, you can hop over to that. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys are thinking of Rainbow Six Extraction right now, that maybe they cancelled this because Extraction's coming out, and that could have been a thing, but I want to kind of talk about that, because if this was planned in year 5, Rainbow Six Extraction was actually meant to come out a whole last year ago, so they 100% have been in development for Extraction for years. So if this only started getting planned in year 5, Rainbow Six Extraction was already deep into development and they were all aware that they were making that game, So no, I don't think they cancel it because of Extraction. I think they could have easily had Extraction as a separate thing and made this, because it was a whole different team making Extraction anyway. So no, I actually don't think Rainbow Six Extraction has anything to do with this. The thing I do think that probably is they probably didn't think they could monetize it very well and it wasn't worth their money, which I don't see how. They could have just created more skins for the PvE raids, charged more microtransactions for that, made the campaign free, but they could still make their money elsewhere with the skins and stuff like that, or they could even charge for the campaign. It could have been $10, $15 extra just to access the campaign. But I think I can kind of see through this and see what's really happening. So if 0bytes is true about this, and they were planning on making a sort of campaign for Siege, that probably means that Ubisoft are currently going to be making a standalone Rainbow Six game campaign based with the Siege operators. Now, I know this kind of seems far-fetched and I'm doing a big reach here, because I'm really just basing this off of one data miner's tweet talking about how they were going to make a PvE mode and campaign for Siege. But I want to look at trends here. Going back to Operation Chimera when we had the Outbreak event, the Outbreak event was a full free event. The only bit that was monetized was the skins, and you didn't have to buy them if you didn't want to. To play the event itself was 100% completely free as long as you own Siege. And then, skip a few years down the line to where we are now, that game, Outbreak, what that started as, has now been made into a full-fledged game, which is $60, which Ubisoft realized, we can make much more money making this a standalone game rather than giving the game mode back or as its own separate mode in Siege for free. So if they clearly had that mindset for Outbreak, that they could monetize it rather than make it a free mode in Siege, then they probably have that same mindset for this. Why would they, for free in Rainbow Six Siege, add a campaign mode and a PvE raid mode when they could do that in a completely separate game, which they could charge for $60 and make a buttload more money? Now, I would actually like to say I would be willing, much more willing, to spend $60 on a full-fledged, cinematic, CGI, cutscenes and everything, full-fledged Rainbow Six game. Much rather spend $60 on that than I would Rainbow Six Extraction. Rainbow Six Extraction should have been in Siege. It should have been a new free separate game mode that was permanently in Siege. That should have been Siege's PvE mode. But I'm actually fine if they do decide to make a completely separate campaign game and charge money for it. Of course, in my perfect world, I would like them to add that to Siege, like they said that they were planning on doing. And like I said, Zero Bytes doesn't specifically say that they have cancelled it, but I'm just basing it off his wording where it says that they were planning on doing it, so I don't assume they're going further. But they might actually be in development for it right now, and that's pretty cool if they are. But I honestly find making a whole separate, standalone game for a campaign mode for Siege, and I'm talking full-fledged, like really long, proper in-depth, proper cutscenes, the whole shebang. I think that's much more justifiable as a separate game than Rainbow Six Extraction is as a separate game. Like I said, Rainbow Six Extraction should have been a PvE mode added to Siege, shouldn't have been a separate game. That's what's going to be the death of that game, especially since how many assets are just taken over from Siege. Why not just make it in Siege? But I think if they made a campaign mode, yes, I would prefer if they added it to Siege, but I think it makes much more sense as a separate game than any other thing that they may, take from Siege and make into something else. But yeah, it's just interesting to hear this. As far as I'm aware, this is cancelled just by the wording of it. But, it could just be the way I'm interpreting it, and it just, they actually are starting development on a, PvE raid mode and campaign for Siege. I think Siege definitely needs something like that. I think we need at least a PvE mode, maybe not even a campaign, but some form of PvE mode. Extraction is that PvE mode, but it's $60 and has no progression between Siege, so that doesn't help anyone. I've made a video on about it, talking about how it's going to be a downfall. It'll be linked at the end in the description. Check that out. Quite a good video in my opinion. But yeah, can you just imagine a campaign with our Siege operators, full CGI trailers and everything? That would be so interesting. I'd 100% down to, play that, see, what the lore, the story building, and everything they could have done with that. There's so many missed opportunities they've actually had if they don't continue with this, and, they don't do it in Siege, or they don't make a standalone game about it. Because, look, at the end of the day, if they make a standalone game, which is a campaign for Siege, I guess that's fair enough. Why add a campaign to a game 6 years in its life cycle rather than make it, like a new game? I think it makes sense to add more like PvP and PvE modes to Siege, 6 years in, because it's an online multiplayer game. But adding a campaign mode, I do think isn't like the most sensible thing, but I like it. But I think it would make more sense as a standalone game, and that's what I feel like they are going to be doing for this. So I realize I am repeating myself a lot here, but I just want to get my point across that if this is cancelled, I think that they are maybe considering it as a side project and a potential game in the future, or maybe we're just never getting this and maybe Zero Bytes was wrong about it, or maybe it was just an idea that they did have but they just decided not to go any further with it, and that's the end of it for today. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the potential campaign and PvE mode that was planned back in year 5 to Siege. Do you think it will become a future game? Do you think they'll add it to the game at some point? I really want to hear your thoughts on this. Be sure to check out my other videos. We got a look at the new battle pass for Crystal Guard the other day as well, so be sure to check that out. Yeah, check out my Twitch and my second channel. They're linked in the description. Have a great day. I'll catch you all later. Peace.